When the uncle was on duty, he suddenly found a big hole strangely appeared on the glass window. He slowly raised his arm and approached the tea shed. Suddenly, a white light flashed, accompanied by the snap. The uncle felt a tingling sensation in his body, and his weight seemed to have decreased by 2 kilograms. He lowered his head and saw. Just like that, the uncle's body was hollowed out. This kind of fingerprint is invisible to the person during his lifetime, and it turns into an invisible superpower. Even a sniper rifle can hardly match it, and this kind of superpower belongs only to the Wenshan family. It is said that hundreds of years ago, the leader of the Wenshan family, Wenshan, in order to avoid the extinction of his race, sent only 10 villagers to stand in a row to fight against 3,000 well-equipped enemy troops. The enemy leader couldn't help but smile when he saw this. How will our Kudo motorcycle team kill people in the future? Let's see it with an order. Something weird happened. Just when the soldiers came like a tide to crush the Wansheng painting, the villagers calmly put their hands to their waists, accompanied by multiple dazzling white lightning bolts. Bursts of snapping sounds resounded through the sky, and then there was a dead silence, like the end of the world. After the bright lights, only the general was left standing there in a daze. All 3,000 soldiers fell down. They died in extremely tragic ways. Some had big holes on their faces, some had missing legs, and some had missing chests. In short, they died in different ways. From a distance, they looked like freshly cooked crayfish. The general couldn't believe his eyes. His arrogance just now was completely destroyed. The stubborn clan was unscathed and didn't even move. Next it was the general's turn. Upon seeing this, the general knelt down and begged for mercy. The stubborn clan became famous because of this. However, it was regrettable that after hundreds of years, the stubborn clan was gradually forgotten by people, so that their descendants did not know their own identities. The consequence was that their superpowers also degenerated. My god, Zishuai can only rely on this small superpower. He's a classmate of Dudu Magic Club, but after a long time he couldn't help but be annoyed by some people. What's the use of being able to open a small hole? It's faster than using hands. He thinks that this kind of superpower is of no help at all for finding a job after graduation. It's so difficult to get out. You and I have to give him an explanation. Zishuai was very depressed after hearing this. After all, when he was a kid, his grandfather only taught him to drive such a big one. He was about to graduate and he had always been troubled by the issue of finding a job until one day, his teacher ZMEI found him, hoping that he could help find the missing professor because the professor, like Zishuai, was a descendant of the Wenshan family. Not long ago, the professor had been studying the secrets of the Wenshan family. He had never understood how the battle in history, where the few defeated the many, was won. In order to gain a deeper understanding of the Wenshan family, he came to the Wenshan mountain, the birthplace of the Wenshan family, alone. Unexpectedly, he lost contact with them from then on, as if they had evaporated from the face of the earth. Therefore, ZMEI found Zishuai for help. From the information provided by the professor's wife, the professor himself possessed this terrible superpower. He tried everything in the house. Zishuai felt inferior after seeing this. It seemed that the superpowers of everyone in the Wenshan family were uneven. Just when several people decided to go to the Wenshan mountain together to find the professor, a breaking news almost made them want to escape. At the foot of the Wenshan mountain, the president of a construction company in a small town was killed. Round notches were dug out of his right arm and head by sharp objects, but no murder weapon was found at the scene and traces of external invasion. Such a strange method gave the police a headache. Soon Xiao Mei, Xiao Shuai, and others arrived at the Wanshan village. It turned out that the top of the Wanshan mountain Xiaoping was exactly the same as the model made by the professor, but soon they found something strange. When the villagers in the town saw the professor's photo, they all said they had never seen it, but the expressions on their faces seemed to be hiding something. What's even stranger is that when the villagers learned that Xiao Shuai was a descendant of the Wanshan family, they immediately held a grand welcome dinner for him. Villagers seemed to believe in gods and wanted to worship him. In order not to delay the search for the truth about the professor's disappearance, several people prepared to climb the Shenshan mountain the next day, but they didn't expect to be stopped by villagers halfway. Fortunately, after some explanation, the villagers did not embarrass them. However, when they reached the top of the mountain, they found that it was empty, with only 7 stones standing in the center. After returning, Xiaomei felt that this place had not been here for a long time. Several people decided to watch the festival tomorrow. He immediately went home, while Zishuai was still showing his superpowers to the girl in the village. But after seeing this, the girl was not surprised, but reminded him seriously that the villagers called this kind of people as people with enrage, and often such people would bring misfortune to the people around them. She suggested that he should live an ordinary life and not get involved in this mess. It turned out that the reason why he was so fond of superpowers was because his brother was a person with this kind of superpower. Ever since his brother had this kind of superpower, this family has never been peaceful. Unfortunately, soon Zishuai had superpowers. The ritual was passed to Hatnar. He was very excited that he finally found his kind, so he tried to get close to Zishuai and prepared to fully develop his superpowers. Wherever wherever the black ball goes, it can be said that everything is wiped out without leaving any trace. But his apprentice tried his best and could only make a tiny hole, but he told his apprentice Zishuai real superpowers don't require shouting. Instead, you need to close your eyes and concentrate your mind to achieve the effective unity of mind and spirit. Seeing that Xiaoshuai couldn't comprehend it, the man in the hat taught him a trick. Soon Xiaoshuai understood the mystery and began to get better. The black ball became bigger and bigger. However, what the man in the hat couldn't imagine was that the speed of the black ball's growth far exceeded his imagination. With this kind of talent, Xiaoshuai is definitely not an ordinary descendant of the Wanshan family. He didn't run away because he was scared, but because he realized the danger. The man in the hat thought that with Xiaoshuai's full participation, they would be invincible in the world. Little did he know that the real chosen one had already arrived outside a hall. He touched the wall with both hands, as if he was brewing a big show. Suddenly, when the man was giving a speech, everyone looked up. A huge black slowly attacked the man. The man curiously touched the ball with his hand, but unexpectedly, the next second, everyone was scared and fled in all directions. In just a few days, two similar vicious murders have occurred. The murderer is undoubtedly the descendant of the stubborn god, that is, the so-called tentacles. Now the only known tentacles are the professor, the man in the hat, and Zishuai in front of him. Zmei suddenly remembered that a few days ago, she received a call from the professor who had been missing for a long time. The professor said that he might never go back because he opened another spiritual door in his life. He advised Zmei to go back quickly and not get involved, but he ignored another stubborn family with superpowers. That is the grandfather of the man in the hat, and the newly initiated acne removal apprentice Zishuai was still working hard to perform stunts for customers. What kind of person is this? The new Greg on the list can't be on the list. The black ball was controlled by Zishuai and slowly attacked the dummy. This magical scene, he asked everyone present to stand up and cheer and applaud. However, the night pearl on his forehead was not obvious at that time. He thought it was the acne he had recently developed due to inflammation. On this day, he accidentally saw someone desperately asking for help. It turned out that a woman couldn't find her car keys, but her son was locked in the car. The temperature outside was nearly 40 degrees Celsius, and the child had already fainted. The situation was very critical. Zishuai looked a little uneasy. He didn't know what the consequences of using superpowers in front of so many people were, but no matter what, the child's life must be the first priority, so he made up his mind and walked quickly to the car. After everyone dispersed, he slowly put his hands on his chest. However, the interference from the outside world and the tension in his heart made him unable to concentrate, so the black ball only made a small hole and he couldn't open the car door at all. So he tried to brew his emotions again, and the big hole in front of him was enough to open the car door from the inside. Fortunately, with the help of Zishuai's acne removal technology, the child finally brushed shoulders with death and escaped. The next day, the news was overwhelming, reporting on the young man who did good deeds anonymously. It was a pity that only his back was photographed, but people want to know more about how he made a hole in the car window. Seeing this, the police couldn't help but think of the strange murder in that issue, which seemed to be similar to the current good thing. The man in the hat recognized him as Zishuai at a glance. He helped develop Zishuai's skill package, but his real purpose was to use him to perform acne removal for customers, so as to earn ticket fees and student fees, and completely turn acne removal into a business. So the next day, strange things happened. From schools, hospitals, insurance companies to studios, all kinds of holes of different sizes appeared. Obviously, everyone suspected that Zishuai was responsible, but soon, the police found out that the suspect who destroyed the building was Cemetery. However, before the police took him away, two white lights suddenly flashed, accompanied by two snaps, and the police disappeared. Seeing this, Cemetery flashed away. Could it be acne removal? Just when he thought he was safe, a huge black ball was attacking him. In the absence of a partner, the man in the hat continued to cheat with the acne removal technique. What he didn't know was that he had violated the family's taboo, because for thousands of years, the Wanshan family has been trying to conceal the existence of acne removal from outsiders, but now it is about to be known to everyone. In order to prevent Taishai from further deteriorating, the family elders sent people to find the man in the hat, intending to stop him from abusing his ability to continue to cheat. However, everyone present seemed to be brainwashed by him and blamed Zishuai's door one after another, because in their perception, this kind of superpower can be acquired through practice. At the critical moment, the girl stepped forward and exposed his true face, and she said that only the descendants of the naughty god family would have this ability and only a small number of people could inherit it. However, the man in the hat continued to confuse people, saying that this was proof of human evolution. In a rage, the man in the hat decided to use the fighting technique to kill his relatives for the sake of justice. But unexpectedly, a terrible thing happened the next second. A ball of energy suddenly fell from the sky and directly opened a huge hole in the window. The man in the hat instantly understood that the only person in the world who could perform such a big move was his idol, Mr. Ryuki. He had 8 muscles on his palms, 12 fingers, and the eyes of Ultraman. As the best among the descendants of the naughty god family, he had the superpower to create giant energy balls. It can be said that no one can match him at present. There is another criterion for judgment, which is the size of the night pearl on the forehead from the largest to the smallest. They are the traitor of the plague god family, And then there's Zishuai, who has just been inspired to have potential. He is only the size of a pimple and has the strongest ability. Mr. Lazy actually violated the ancestral precepts and cooperated with the gang outside without telling his clan members. He abused his superpowers to kill people. However, at this time, Lazy informed him that from now on, the Black Ball Research Society would be disbanded on the spot. The man in the hat didn't say anything, but it caused opposition and protests from a large number of believers. He just threw an energy ball over, and the scene was instantly silent. At this time, someone asked why Zishuai is also an ordinary person, but he can have this ability. Why? Mr. Lazy thought that he was just a troublemaker with low ability, so he decided to use the energy ball to make him disappear in an instant. At this time, Xingzi used her body to block Xiaoshuai, and because Xingzi is the granddaughter of the elder of Wanshan village, Mr. Lazy can only give up. Xiaoshuai doesn't understand why Lazy wants to get rid of him. Xingzi thinks that he should want to manage the superpowers, so he kills those who can't be managed. Thinking of this after being managed by him, now Zinin should not dare to do anything wrong again. Even the rookie Xiaoshuai is ready to make a move. It turns out that he plans to use superpowers to remove garbage and get attractive rewards, but he was strongly opposed by Xingzi. In order to make Xiaoshuai change his cognition, he took off his shirt on his own initiative. Xiaoshuai was surprised and happy. However, the next second, the horrific scene in front of him instantly woke him up. It turns out that in addition to the superpower of energy balls, the Wanshan clan also has a superpower called Opening Window. People with the superpower will act exactly the same as demons at night. He pointed to an old photo and told Zishuai that Mr. Lazy's face was normal at that time. His mother and Mr. Lazy were originally in love due to Lazy's special status. Their marriage was strongly opposed by the family. In the end, she was ordered by her parents to marry Mr. Dongguan of the San clan. His father was very strict with his brother, and beating and kicking were commonplace, just because his brother could not condense the energy ball he expected. Over time, family relationships began to become distorted. His mother asked Mr. Lazy to help train his brother. Unexpectedly, this behavior led to rumors in the village that his brother was Lazy's son. This made the narrow-minded father even more angry. He vented all his anger on his brother, while his brother vented his resentment on his sister. The mother was powerless to do anything about it. As the whole family atmosphere became worse and worse, everyone had reached their limit at a certain point. It was from that time that Anzi began to have nightmares. In her dreams, she kept falling and was in great pain. Finally, one day, the family conflict was completely intensified. The brother used an energy ball to make a hole in the father's body, causing the father to vomit blood and die. Anzi and her mother were terrified. Then, her mother condensed a huge energy ball, as if to help the murderer destroy the body and cover up the traces. This is how the family was broken up. The father was killed by the brother. From then on, the brother went into exile. The mother became depressed. Not long after, the mother made a major decision and asked Lazy to take him to play in Mount Kinabalu. On Lazy's way down the mountain, Anzi asked him about the dream problem. She thought that Lazy might be able to give her some advice, but to his shock, Lazy said that he had the same dream as him, and what he experienced in the dream was much more terrible than Anzi's. Then, after the mother arrived at the mountain, she was suddenly swallowed by some force. The whole person disappeared. From then on, Lazy also laughed. Xingzi also told Zishuai a secret. The person who killed the president of the construction company was Lazy, not her brother Gaozi, because the president wanted to blow up Wanshinchin. Xingzi knew her brother very well. His courage was as small as his superpowers. Jia finally vented what he had experienced in his heart for many years. Xingzi felt much more relaxed. Zishuai sympathized with Xingzi's experience very much. He decided to give up the plan of using energy balls to clean up the garbage. However, the scary thing is that Zishuai started to have the same nightmare from some time. In the dream, he kept falling, and he could even see the same falling character, but even so, the continuous appearance of energy balls still attracted the attention of the police. Then there was a snap, and the man's car disappeared for no reason. The next thing that disappeared was an airplane. This doubled the pressure on the police. Reporter Yuji is also paying attention to the energy ball. As a classmate of Xiao Shuai Club, he has long been aware of the energy ball. The two met because of a bowl of instant noodles and decided to work together to investigate the secrets behind the energy ball. Soon, the two used plant metamorphosis to find Lazy and Gaozi. They followed the two all the way to a building. Unexpectedly, before they had time to collect evidence, they were discovered by Lazy's entourage. The reason why the two came here was that they were entrusted to assassinate the targeted person. He was very easy to condense a super large energy ball. It was so powerful. Gaozi was puzzled. Why did he kill someone who had nothing to do with him? It turned out that Mr. Lazy was clearing out the enemies for others. Gaozi couldn't understand why the master of such a high level would obey the orders of a rubbish old man. Lazy told him that the reason he started it casually was just to vent his inner dissatisfaction and force the Dabao to show up. However, as more and more holes were opened, ordinary small holes could no longer satisfy his increasingly distorted sexuality. He slowly opened his blood-red hands with 8-pack abdominal muscles muscles, and a giant energy ball that was big enough to cover the sky, and the sun rose into the sky. The energy ball slowly crossed the sky, passed over people's heads, and then continued to fly towards the city's iconic building. This was an unethical thing. With a loud bang, flash of white light passed, and the building was directly cut in half by the energy ball. People screamed and fled in all directions. Only Zishuai knew what this meant at this moment. He seemed to be in the smokeless battlefield 300 years ago.